Be the Talk, episode 216, featuring Jay Barnard. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Jay Barnard. Jay, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk, Nathan. Are you ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk. Jay Barnard is a chef, successful entrepreneur, mental health and addiction recovery advocate. Chef Jay Barnard wears many hats, a professionally trained chef. Jay has many years in the restaurant industry, ranging from running restaurants in the Westin and Delta hotels in Ottawa to operating a large commercial restaurant operation in Fort McMurray, Alberta for Compass Group Canada. Now, he has also run a successful catering business. I love this, doing work for major clients, ranging from Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, and William Shatner to then Prime Minister Stephen Harper. As president and CEO of Freshwater Cuisine, a market-disrupting startup company, Chef Jay has brought his passion for culinary innovation to the freshwater fish industry. Jay Barnard, welcome to the talk.
Thanks, Nathan. That was quite the mouthful, wasn't it?
It's a little bit of a mouthful, but my gosh, William Shatner. Here, I'm obviously based in the United States, so we're big on William Shatner. I would imagine that in Canada, Wayne Gretzky is probably several levels higher even than William Shatner. I mean, that is pretty much the closest thing to royalty that you have in Canada, depending on who you talk to.
It was amazing, that whole experience. But yeah, he is royalty over here.
I would imagine. And then, Stephen Harper and so many other amazing clients of yours.
Snoop Dogg. I did Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Chicken and waffles, Chef. Chicken and waffles. And,
Snoop Dogg.
Travis Tritt, and I did Leanna Rhymes. I did the original five. I did all kinds of cool stuff out in Fort McMurray. It was Leonardo DiCaprio. I did too.
My gosh. Well, the names go on and on and on. Your talk, your TEDx Fort McMurray talk is called Living the Dream and Never Giving Up. And this is just one of those powerful, authentic talks. We were just talking with our prior guest on the talk show format about authenticity. Your talk is all authenticity. And I love how, it was just a really natural format for you because I'd never seen this before, Jay. You're chopping what? It looked like squash and vegetables and fruit. What were you chopping up as you were talking through your entire talk?
Yeah, I was making a fruit platter. So basically, watermelon, honeydew melon, strawberries, raspberries. And I thought it would be really cool to start off with that, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely authentic, and it was just natural. It was really us looking at you in your natural habitat, because chefs are, you guys are pulling all kind, not 12-hour days. You're pulling 13, 14, 15-hour days, and you're managing staff, and there's I've heard of all kinds of real challenges in terms of, the kinds of challenges that you've overcome in the restaurant and food preparation industry. And I think a lot of it might be because of the long hours as well as many other factors. But I love the authenticity of just doing what you normally do, chopping fruit for a fruit salad and doing all that. Was that your idea? Was that someone else's idea? Were you coached for that? Who came up with that idea?
Well, it was my idea, but my coach helped me too, right? So like I said in the beginning, I said, I don't want nothing. I'm not scripted. So this is just going to go how it goes. And, that's how I relate to people, and that's how people relate to me, right? There's nothing scripted about me. Whatever comes out, comes out. And I was just like, I think it'd be really cool to just start off me cutting fruit behind the table, because it looks like I'm in my shell, like in my bubble. And that was my addiction, right? Like I was inside my addiction. But the wicked thing is we set up a microphone, and every time I cut, you could hear the knife coming down, right? And that's what was really cool. It was just quiet, and it was the knife cutting, and it was me talking, and it was just me getting raw. And it really set the tone for the talk.
Yeah. Well, Talk Universe. I mean, if you do something similar, to Jay, if your daily grind, I mean, it was powerful because there was a monotony. In a sense, in cutting food and preparing and doing all the back end work. And so Jay really brought us into the talk, and he brought us into kind of the literal daily chopping grind of that, which is just a really powerful way to be able to do that. Jay, you mentioned, I mean, in the talk, food was the first addiction, and then there were challenges in your life, and then there were other things that you struggled with and ultimately overcame. So just take us a little, in the next 30, 40 seconds, let's just kind of top of the waves of that. And then I want to kind of pull some more valuable things for Talk Universe out of that. But please just give us an overview of where you've been.
So, I was addicted when I was really young, right? So, I had a dysfunctional family and I saw addiction. So that just was kind of like the nature of the beast for me to fall into that. And whatever I could find to keep the pain away or subside the pain, I would do. So it was food at first. And then, I mean, nobody ever wants to talk about it, but porn lies right in close with that one. And then when you talk about after the food and that, I mean, I got right into the drugs and alcohol. And, that's when I found the true love of my life, because it just was like this wave came over me. But what I didn't understand is that I needed more, and I always needed more, and I needed more. And by me needing more, I was getting messed up more and more, and I got into drug dealing, and that's how, I had to put this mask on to be popular. And that's how I found a way to become popular, because I was born Jay Corey. And, my father disowned me at the age of 10, and that's when I became Jay Barnard. So I was fighting this identity crisis too, right? Because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't have enough time to figure out who I was because I was too young. So I just fell right into the drugs and alcohol and just took that lifestyle on like no tomorrow. And like they say, when you live to use and you use to live, that's simply an addict, and that's exactly what I did. And I have no shame, guilt, or remorse about it. It made me who I am today. And I love the fact I can't even believe I can tell you this one, but I love the fact that I had to go through that in order to get where I am today, because a lot of us have to go through what we have to go through to get where we're going.
Powerful. I mean, I saw so many different analogies are coming to mind. You mentioned porn addiction. I think it was Russell Brand, the British comedian, talking about a lot of these issues. And he was talking about his addiction to drugs and alcohol, and then later his addiction to pornography, as opposed to having a real loving relationship. And it was actually his quote is something to the effect of, because I've been an addict in drugs and alcohol, when I started becoming addicted to pornography, I realized, hey, I'm going into the cycle again. It gave him a reference point to realize, hey, this is something other than what it's being marketed for. It's really starting to destroy me. It's not helping anyone else. It's also not helping me. And I feel the same cycle of addiction happening already all over again. So, I mean, that's a powerful thing to be able, if you feel somewhat the same way that your victories in the past and the present, because every day it's a victory, that gives you a frame of reference to recognize new things and avoid addictive things that might be completely, accepted by society. Maybe one thing is, being a workaholic, and you have to put out really long hours, but how do you do that without being a workaholic? Hopefully, having the background of overcoming the struggle of addiction really helps you do that. A second example, very quickly, last night, in fact, my wife gives me this, recording or a YouTube link of Elizabeth Vargas, the 2020 anchor, and she sat down with Diane Sawyer, of all people, to interview her in her story of alcoholism for decades. And so I'm just, last night watching that, and very many, the same themes that Jay's telling us right now. So many other people at the very top of their game, as well as Jay on the top of his game, doing celebrity catering. It doesn't matter where you are in society. It doesn't matter who you're rubbing shoulders with. This thing is real, and we've got to all be open with ourselves and with other people. And that's part of the reason we have BeTheTalk. Jay, please respond to any part of that. I know that was a little bit of a long aside. Yeah.
But yeah, you're exactly right about that, all of that, and it basically falls into running away from yourself, right? So all I ever did my whole entire life was run away from myself. And how I did that was using whatever I could use to kill the pain and get away from me and not think about what's going on. But what happens is, there's so many things that go on in life that you just keep making up excuses, and this next excuse comes into that excuse, then this lie becomes that lie, and then you're intertwined, and the little touch of the porn that you talked about, it makes your relationships absolutely distorted because you don't know what a relationship is, and you really want to go with what's fiction and what's nonfiction and what is really fiction, and if that's what you're doing, because you can't have a relationship like that. That's not a relationship. And, when you just drink and use all the time to kill the pain, and then you get involved in the drugs, and then, I started off with weed, then I moved into cocaine, then I moved into crack, then I started banging needles and doing heroin. And, I could just never get enough. And, in 2005, I tried committing suicide back-to-back times. I was just at a real low point in my life. I just won top sales guy for this company I was in 3 years in a row because I'm a really good talker and a really good entrepreneur, and I'm really good at doing that stuff. And it doesn't matter because all that outside stuff doesn't make you feel good on the inside, right? You have to be happy on the inside. And if you're happy with who you are and you love who you are, it doesn't matter what because I just went through a whole bunch the last 12 days, or the last two.
Yes, you did. Oh, you did.
I went through a lot. And, that was a perfect opportunity for me to relapse. And I did come close. I came really, really close. And, people up above are always watching over me because that's important, your higher power and stuff like that for me. Yeah. And, by the grace of God, here I am today. But what it taught me is the inner strength of somebody, right? I have 10 and a half years clean and sober. It doesn't matter if I have, it doesn't matter if you have 1 day or 100 years.
Yeah.
This is a beast. This beast will get you when you least expect it. And all of a sudden you're using and you don't know why. So there is no excuse in the world to use. I mean, I love my grandfather to death, and I did the best thing. For me, I never did that before. I never stepped away. I would have never canceled with you, and I would have never canceled my other speaking engagement, and I would have kept going on with life. And I would have, back in the back of my mind, I'm like, he gave me my life, and he, this is a guy that supported me through everything. I was down and out. I mean, I remember sitting I shared on a live video, and he sat outside my house for 8 hours waiting for me to come out and go fishing with him. And I was inside smoking crack, and this guy sat out there and watched it. The best thing that I could do was just, shut my life off for the entire time until he passed away and just give him everything that I could give him. And, I'm so grateful today that I did. And I got on his bed and we talked and we cried and we snuggled and I helped him, and I did everything I possibly could do for him right up until the last minute. And, today I'm happy about that, because if I wouldn't have done that, I don't know how I would have felt, and then on top of that one, going through a separation, and that was thrown in there, and it really, my higher power was testing me. And, Jay, are you everything that you say you are? Because, the mask could come on and you're going to go out and drink because that's easy. That's easy. Life isn't easy. And, I have a lot going on with my business, freshwater cuisine, and I got a lot going on with chef recovery, and it was a good opportunity for me too, but it also gave me this understanding and a new appreciation for life, going through that experience, because that's what I ran away from. I ran away from death. And, when you watch your best friend die right in front of you, it's a little bit of a different thing, but I'll tell you, the calmness, the acceptance, the peace. Do I miss him? Yes, I do. Will I love him forever? Yes, I will. But, I don't think I could get any closer to him right now. I'm living in his old apartment, and I'm living in his room, and things all happen for a reason, and it showed me that sometimes in life I just have to turn off my life in order to really care about the things that mean. If I say they mean something to me, I'd better make sure they mean it to me, because that's my speech, right? Like, that's who I am. and I'm here to help people. And through my talk in Fort McMurray and never giving up and living the dream, that's exactly what that's about, is never giving up. And there's been many a times I've been ready to just throw it in and say, what the hell with it, I'm going out drinking. And where that thought comes from, I don't know. They're in there, and like anybody that's ever is going to watch this or is watching this right now, it's an everyday struggle, and you just got to do it one day at a time and reach out to people. One day at a time. We're talking with celebrity chef Jay Barnard, and his talk is called Living the Dream and Never Giving Up. And we're hearing how that plays out day to day to day. We're going to be right back with Jay Barnard in just a moment for the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we are back with Jay Barnard. It is time for the Blitz Round. Are you ready, Jay? Are you ready? We are ready. We only have time for a couple of questions. So first question is, you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither or both? Always have nerves. I think that's a healthy thing. If you don't have nerves, you're not doing the right thing and your body's basically dead. So yes, I always have nerves no matter what. What's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you prepare? My coach was a really good one. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I said I don't want to be scripted. So you're going to just let me roll out, or I'm not going to do this thing. And that was like the first time I ever kind of stood up for myself. All right. And, that's what gave me what I got. I'm me. And so, yeah, they let me just do my thing. All right. Well, hey, this is a little bit of an abbreviated Blitz Round with Jay Barnard. Want to let you know before anything else where you can go and watch his branded talk. You can go to BeTheTalk.com. In the notes page, we're going to have a link to his talk, Living the Dream and Never Giving Up, as well as we want to have a link to his website, chefrecovery.com. chefrecovery.com. And we'll be back in just a moment with Chef Jay Barnard and the final word of advice for you, Talk Universe. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with Jay Barnard. It is time for the final word of advice. Final word of advice would be give yourself a chance and love yourself for who you are, because if you don't love yourself for who you are, you're not going to have a chance, and you'll stay in that vicious circle of insanity, which is repeating the same mistake over and over again but expecting different results. So when you give yourself a chance, you always get the result you're looking for, which is life. Jay Barnard, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe. Thanks for having me, Nathan. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to Be The Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.